Greetings to all those attending this very important 24-hour global virtual picket to end the U.S. blockade on Cuba. My name is Nino Paglia. I am with the Frente Hugo Chávez para la Defensa de los Pueblos in Vancouver. I am a supporter of the Cuban Revolution, and I have been with the Cuba Solidarity Movement for a long time. The Latin American and indeed the world's political situation has changed since just last 2021. We have a progressive government in Colombia with Gustavo Petro as president after about 200 years of pro-US right-wing governments. And we have the recent victory of progressive Inácio Lula da Silva, just elected as president of Brazil, replacing pro-US right-wing Bolsonaro. Far from our region in the Americas, we have a raging conflict in Ukraine that the US is using as a proxy war against Russia in order to retain its hegemonic unipolar control of the rest of the world with its military arm, NATO. In the context of the UN vote on the necessity of ending the US blockade on Cuba this year, it will be interesting to see the voting behavior of Colombia, Brazil, and Ukraine because they stood out in preceding votes. For instance, in 2019, 187 countries out of 192 voted in favor of the UN resolution. Colombia and Ukraine abstained, and Brazil voted with Israel and the US against the resolution. In 2020, there was no vote because of the COVID pandemic. In 2021, in June of last year, 184 countries out of 189 voted in favor of the resolution. Colombia, Brazil, and Ukraine abstained, and only Israel and the US voted against. Now, at the time of making this video on November the 2nd, I don't know what the vote at the UN is going to be, but I will go out on a limb making a guess. So, assuming there will be no changes in the vote on those countries that voted in favor in the last two UN votes, and this is a major assumption given the very polarized world we have today, the final outcome might rely on the three countries I have outlined: Colombia, Brazil, and Ukraine. There's no doubt in my mind that Colombia will change from abstention in the previous 2 years to a vote in favor of the resolution. This will be consistent with Petro's new foreign policy in the region. I also believe that this year Ukraine will change its vote from abstention to a vote against the resolution, siding with its protector, a major weapons provider, the US. It's less obvious to me what Brazil will do. The vote is still in the hands of the current Bolsonaro government, still in place. Previously, it went from voting against the resolution in 2019 to abstaining in 2021. It is not clear what the vote will be this year. Will it join the US again, voting against the resolution as a form of protest against Lula's victory? Will it vote in favor of the resolution with the majority of nations in the world and reflecting the majority presidential choice of the Brazilian people? Or will Brazil abstain again? For the sake of my prediction, I will say that Brazil will abstain again. I'll leave it at that. In a few hours, we will know the actual results. I may be wrong. But one thing is sure. The overwhelming majority of the world, nations, will condemn the U.S. blockade on Cuba again, as it has happened since 1992. I will be proven right on this time. Thanks.